You're listening to The Luxury Item, the podcast on the business of luxury and the people and companies that are shaping the future of the luxury industry. Here's your host, Scott Kerr.
A sizzling summer continues with the rebound from eager-to-travel passengers refueling airlines, hotels, and cruise lines along the way. The incredible demand for the hospitality industry is also an encouraging sign for the dozens of luxury hotels opening around the world. For many, bookings are strong, and new hotel inventory is sparking even more interest to travel near and far. My guest today on The Luxury Item is Radha Arora, President and Co-Chief Development Officer at Rosewood Hotels and Resorts, which manages a global collection of 29 one-of-a-kind luxury hotels, resorts, and residences in 17 countries. The Rosewood collection includes some of the world's most legendary hotels and resorts, including the Carlyle in New York City, Rosewood Mansion on Turtle Creek in Dallas, and Hotel de Crillon in Paris, to name a few. Mr. Arora brings 30 years of luxury hospitality leadership experience to his role, including serving in top positions at some of the world's finest and most celebrated luxury hotels. In his 10-year tenure as president of Rosewood Hotels and Resorts, he has overseen the brand's growth from a predominantly North American brand to a global leader in luxury hospitality. Currently, Mr. Arora is overseeing the development of 25 new properties in distinct and exciting destinations. Welcome to The Luxury Item, Radha.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you with us. First, I have to congratulate you on having 13 Rosewood Hotels and Resorts properties being honored by Travel + Leisure's 27th Annual World's Best Awards. And it always seems Rosewood dominates these travel award lists.
Yes, we're very fortunate that we're recognized by such coveted publication, and of course it's guest feedback, it's customer feedback as well with Travel + Leisure. So that's even more heartrending.
So you position Rosewood Hotels and Resorts as an ultra luxury brand. How do you define ultra luxury in the hotel space?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think ultra luxury, people have their own definition. People think about ultra luxury as something that's very material and something that's expensive, but it doesn't have to be any of that. I think at Rosewood, what we like to do is dive a bit deeper into the concept of luxury, really understand it from our customer standpoint. And so for our guests, our affluential explorers, if you will, as we call them, we know that their key indicators of an ultra luxury experience goes beyond service and beyond personalization, and it's already, because that's already good service, great service, personalization is already expected at our level. So, but we really like to focus on intuitively bringing our sense of place philosophy to life all across our all of our touch points, from design and food and beverage, product, access of enriching offerings that allow our guests to have a more intimate look at the destination. So for me, that really is luxury. And luxury today, also, especially post-COVID, it's all those things that are scarce and have become even more scarce, because through the course of COVID, we've all had a bit of a reality check. And when you put things into circumspect, you think that, what is important to me, what's important to individuals as human beings, it's our health, it's our families, our friends, and being as close to them as much as possible. We've realized how important that is. And so we like to create this. What we've done is, as already Rosewood, as we know, is known for a sense of place mantra, and what we've done is augmented those experiences, really sort of realized that how important these values are, these pillars are to our guests and to the people, to human beings. And what we do with Rosewood is just unearth every aspect of sense of place. We've created these authentic destinations where really people feel they can come together, be part of something really extraordinary, and something that they may not have coveted, before. Because luxury is, as I'm trying to sum up here, is that it's not just about, especially in our hospitality community, it's not about great bedrooms and great views and good room service. It goes beyond that.
So I read an interview, it was from a couple of years ago, and you were talking about the Rosewood brand, and you said, what is paramount to us is growing the recognition of the brand as one that represents a differentiated approach to luxury, a more modern and progressive experience that reflects the way we travel today. So what is that differentiated approach?
A very good question. I'll give you an example. First of all, let's just start with that. So you take Rosewood Mayakoba. Rosewood Mayakoba is a great example of thinking beyond those traditional hotel experiences, and it's actually taking what they actually do is take their guests on trips, not just at the hotel itself.
Mhm.
So they build these relationships with them. They sit together and not sit together, but what they've done is they've created this sort of weekly get-togethers with our guests. Whoever wants to join, they sit in this sort of farm table. It's what we call La Ceiba. They come together. They enjoy great music, enjoy great food, but at the same time meet other people that are have like-minded interests and develop those relationships. And what they do is then they say, okay, you want to discover you want to discover Mexico beyond Rosewood Mayakoba, because we realize that of course this is a hotel luxury experience, because as I said earlier, luxury to me is finding something that you are connected as a human being. Those destinations, those parts of your mindset that you would not normally think of as luxury, such as what Rosewood Mayakoba does. And so what they do is they take you to these amazingly curated, intimate experiences for couples to Oaxaca, let's say. And I went on such a trip last year, and I discovered mezcal. And of course, at the same time, I realized that I was very partial to mezcal. But and we did not stay in your typical luxury hotel. We stayed in a very a typical Mexican property with the with haciendas, and we just stayed there, just a handful of couples, and we were there with the executive chef Juan Pablo, who's so articulate with these journeys, and we talked about the local Oaxacan culture and food and art. So it's an extension of what we do at Rosewood Mayakoba. It's what we think that today luxury is just beyond going to a destination, sitting on the beach, reading a book, and enjoying your margaritas. I'm giving Mexico as a prime example here.
Yeah, and before you were talking about the sense of place, and Rosewood Hotel Group has earned this reputation, a sense of place-based narrative really is the approach to everything that you do. It's about creating a luxury experience for travelers while making sure that the local history and culture of the location is central to every Rosewood property narrative. So it's clear people are re-examining and reprioritizing what matters to them most, a shift that has accelerated, no question, in the last 2 years. So do you think the pandemic has enhanced our desire for capturing that sense of place in the destinations we want to travel to?
Absolutely. We've seen that. We've seen this outcome in our hotels, and when I speak to our individual managing directors at the property level and try to understand how is our client behaving today, what is their mood, and of course immediately after not COVID, not that it's the pandemic is over, but immediately when the clients were beginning to travel again, their mood was obviously somber, but at the same time excited about the fact that they could travel again and go to these destinations that they used to going to. And so what's happened is that the demand, the requests for accommodations have changed. Our clients want to avail themselves of a longer experience. So people, because they hadn't traveled for so long, the length of stay has increased. But at the same time, they're traveling with, tri-generational families and friends. So we see a lot of requests for our suites and our villas. And so those habits have changed. Enjoying in-room villas as families, as groups of people in resort destinations. And in the cities, really going out to those favored restaurants that they were used to going to before. And of course, the museums are looking at the art collections again and really realizing what they've missed. So, and again, going back to what I was saying, that having these sort of authentic and these experiences that are delivered to you in earnest. And by that, I mean, when you take a look at our clients and how their habits have evolved, so have our team, so have our associates, because they're also grateful and for the opportunity to continue to serve again. And they've also missed a human connection, because after all, it is their calling to build on those relationships, and they've missed that. They've missed that connection as well. So I think together, what we're seeing is that this robust connection between our staff, our associates, and our guests. So much so that they had continued to stay in touch through COVID, but now post-COVID as well, we see those relationships really continuing to evolve. And of course, that's the very root of who we are. And we talk about sense of place as a guiding mantra, if you will. But relationship hospitality is it's instinctive among us. And as I said, it's a calling for our team. But at the same time, I think our clients feel that it is their calling to be connected with our teams as well.
And last year, you unveiled a Summer by Design program, which was a series of tailored journeys in response to people's demand for these immersive and purposeful travel experiences coming out of lockdown. And this year, you have something called Summer Immerse that taps into people's desires to explore and discover local cultures. Are these programs being shaped by any kind of typologies or segments of the affluent population you identified in your research?
Yeah, so we knew that this summer would be the first time that some of our guests would be able to explore widely. And there was, of course, this pent-up demand for these immersive experiences. So what we wanted to do was to offer our affluential explorers a selection of experiences that help them reconnect with their love of travel, pretty much what I just said earlier. And therefore, the Summer Immerse was born as a result of that understanding and comprehension of what our clients were looking at, and the feedback from our associates as well. So these offerings were actually grounded in four distinct pillars, and that being culture, flavor, wellness, and of course, what's imperative today is sustainability. So examples of this would include cultural offerings that connect guests with local artisans. Pretty much what I mentioned about what we do at Rosewood Maricopa with Oaxaca, and there are a myriad of such examples. And of course, things like an art walk through San Jose del Cabo's gallery district with Mexican artist David Luna, who's been part of Las Ventanas' success over the last 25 years. And of course, and beyond that, interactive tour of a biodynamic garden in Tuscany, where the whole family learns about, farming culture. So keeping the families away from gadgets, right, and really immersing them into what's really important to us as human beings, and so that we don't become robotic.
Yeah. So what do you want them to come away with after those amazing immersions? What do you want them to feel?
We want them to feel fulfilled. We want them to feel that, wow, this is something that maybe I should have done before, but it's never too late. And to really realize that, life goes beyond just technology, and to avail yourself of these raw experiences, because I think as a human being, unless you've touched the earth, unless you've really understood what nature is all about and understood how other cultures exist, and so, luxury, again, it cannot just be about what you've amassed and what you've accumulated through your wealth and through your own successes. It's about this deep-rooted understanding of how other cultures perform and not perform, and how they exist and coexist, and these artisans and what these wonderful things that they do. And for me, it's so fulfilling to go and to be able to speak to local artisans and sort of really appreciate what they do and imagine how those artisans feel about, when they get the acknowledgement of somebody else coming from another community, another part of the world, and paying tribute to what they do.
So when the New World Hospitality Group purchased Rosewood Hotels in 2011, Rosewood Hotel Group CEO Sonia Chang's top priority was to take the brand global. And that ambitious strategy has certainly been realized. I was looking over Rosewood's property pipeline, and you have future openings in some really evocative places like Amsterdam and Riyadh and Xi'an, Saudi Arabia, and others. How do you go about selecting a location for a new Rosewood hotel or resort?
As we know that, hospitality community, there are several operators and brands and various kinds of hotel offerings, if you will, hospitality offerings. And in our case, everything that we've just talked about, creating these authentic experiences and journeys and these fulfilling experiences, it's really important that we're very strategic in our growth. And what we do is we're very thoughtful, very deliberate, finding the right partner, like-minded partners to bring our properties to these these distinguished destinations across the globe. So and so we're very thoughtful, very careful, very meticulous in where we want to be and how we can create these destinations whereby you as a client will feel, okay, that particular journey or that particular destination may not have been on my bucket list, and because Rosewood is articulating this journey, then we feel that we're in good hands and we'll see these destinations through Rosewood's eyes. And so what we've done over the last 11 years since the brand was taken over by a New World Hospitality Group, and of course, our group CEO, Sonia Chang, her top priority was, in fact, to continue to build on Rosewood's guiding philosophy. And so what we've done is we're really committed to evolving the Rosewood brand in a really thoughtful and impactful way. And when we're looking for new locations, we look for destinations that we feel our community of brand loyalists and admirers would want to experience through the Rosewood lens. And 2022 was again a reminder to us that what we've been doing is, we've been actually on the right path. And it was also a year, it reminded us that it was a year of, or it hasn't finished yet, but, strong openings with Rosewood Vienna having recently opened its doors on August 1st and, marking our expansion into Austria. Again, it's one of those destinations that's not normally on your bucket list, but for me, it's the city of music, it's the city of dreams. And so it was really imperative that we have that. And very quickly, we also announced just immediately after the opening of Rosewood Vienna, another property in Austria again. Again, one of those places that you probably would not normally, be attracted to, but this particular destination, Rosewood Schloss Fuschel, is going to be opening next year. And again, it'll be a great, just outside Salzburg, it'll be a great linkage with Rosewood Vienna and Rosewood Munich and Schloss Fuschel. So when you think about these three destinations, when we set about our strategy 11 years ago, what do we want to do? Well, we created these hubs, and then what we do is we'll go and find destinations that can make these hubs that much more attractive, so that you can not just go to you don't just have to go to these authentic destinations like Schloss Fuschel. You go to Munich, you explore Munich, and then its beauty and its relevance with art and culture, because Munich is actually one of my favorite destinations as well, and Rosewood Vienna, and then to as I said, extend that triangle to Schloss Fuschel is such a an amazing destination, something again that would not be on your bucket list. So, and then of course we also opened Rosewood Sao Paulo back in January, and that was a major brand moment for us. You know, it represented our move into South America, and it took us 10 years to get that property punctuated correctly, and you know, that's why we're very, as I mentioned earlier, we're very meticulous, careful, thoughtful, that with our partners that we create the right, that all the attributes that we speak to of a Rosewood property are ticked off, that they are actually represented wholly and fully within that property. And then, you know, going forward 2023, you know, we're opening in Rosewood Amsterdam again, and a destination that's just crying for a super luxury brand like Rosewood, and then we're going to Kona Village in Hawaii. So Rosewood Kona Village is going to be one of those amazing destinations. I think it's one of those destinations that was just looking for something unique, and it needed Rosewood to come in to really sort of translate its authenticity. And I think that, you know, if I was to really sort of take a pen and kind of look at Hawaii and see where Rosewood should be, I couldn't have picked a perfect location than Kona Village itself.
So the summer opened a floodgate of pent-up demand for travel, with passenger volumes at airports similar to pre-pandemic levels. However, it's also been a summer of travel chaos around the world. So how has the summer been for your business?
So the demand for summer travel really has been, you know, it's been measurable. And as our properties have embraced this uptick in occupancy, I mean, we've seen it through occupancies and our room rates as well. And over the last few months, you know, we've obviously, as you mentioned, we've seen many restrictions have lifted globally, and the demand for travel, of course, has followed. Now, yes, with these sort of challenges with air travel, lack of staffing, and what we've still seen a huge impact into first of all the drive markets, and of course those other destinations where, you know, there was this pent up demand. So we've seen an uptake of close to 35% on 2019. 2019 was a great year for us. So it's very telling. But again, what we've seen is that there's been a shift of habits and the pattern of the bookings, and you know, more suite bookings, more villa bookings. But you know, eventually when people do get to these destinations, through however they get to these destinations, they stay longer. So from a business standpoint, we've seen that. We've seen the rise in the average room rates, as I mentioned, longer stays. And I think this is going to actually continue, because all those people that were not able to travel as a result of these some travel restrictions and you know, the sort of arduous mode of travel today, when you think about you know, the challenges at the airport, the long lines when you come through immigration, yes, those are difficult to accept. But once you get there, you have that aha moment, and I think that, you know, at the end of the day, we as human beings will always want to travel despite everything else. We want to know what's going on in the other parts of the world. You just can't keep us caged up.
And last year was the first summer people had the opportunity to get back out and see the world again, and guest expectations and demands have changed. There's no question. So what are some of the shifts that you've seen in guest expectations?
The pent-up demand has been incredible to watch, and we're really heartened to see that enthusiasm for travel is stronger than ever. So our guests are looking for, as I mentioned earlier, that connection. And because of our philosophy of relationships, hospitality, many are able to establish meaningful and long-lasting relationship with our team members, as I mentioned before, and of course, which in turn creates a sense that they're a part of a family when they stay with Rosewood. And with these guests, with the associates, it's not just about building that relationship when you're on property, but it's also building that relationship when you're off property, as I mentioned, what we do in Mexico and other destinations. And perhaps the biggest change we've actually seen is in our residential sector, actually. we've experienced an increased interest in our guests that are either investing in longer term stays or buying a second home. And by popular demand, what we've done is we've created a business model where our Rosewood residences are a great answer to all those customized amenities and experiences that they feel at the properties. They want some of this at home. And so what we've done is we've embarked on Rosewood residences, and we've seen a huge uptick on people looking for Rosewood residences, and also we're able to find these again unique destinations. We're bringing Rosewood to their homes.
So, are you seeing a return in the business traveler at all?
We are beginning to see that, because I think people also, as I did personally when I was traveling through. I was actually traveling through carefully, but through pandemic, because I felt that there was an opportunity for me to not just build on connections, but really sort of cement those connections that we've had, and as a result of which we were able to grow our brand through the pandemic period. So, and what we realized that at the end of the day, the human connection is really important. And yes, while our accommodations are fully equipped with all your needs when you arrive there to limit your interaction with other people, what we've seen is that initially, people said, oh, people want to work from home, and yes, people do work from home, but also what we've seen is that at the end of the day, what really brings brings success to an organization is when people are connected. And I think from a corporate standpoint, they've realized, and the corporate organizations have realized that travel is imperative. So we are continuing to see an uptick. As I mentioned before, leisure travel was the first to out of the gates, but now we're also seeing corporate travel. We're also meetings business, booking in advance, because again, there's conferences and meetings business had come to a halt over the last 2 to 3 years. So we're seeing an uptick on that, and bookings are being made in advance, which we have not seen for the last 3 years.
And then you're seeing a number of these new terms being thrown around, like workations and bleisure, whatever you want to call it. Work anywhere is a trend that might become a permanent practice for professionals. Have you made changes to any Rosewood hotels to be more bleisure destinations?
Well, we've definitely seen the rise in digital nomads at many of our properties across the brand. I mean, there's just no question. When work from home was more of a novelty, we had many properties unveil packages targeting the specific subset of remote workers. So as it has become clear that some degree of remote work will likely remain a part of our life, these packages have actually evolved to a more standard set of amenities that make working even from our farthest flung destinations that much easier. These include, of course, Wi-Fi, which is accepted, super high-speed Wi-Fi, but also spacious desk areas. Many remote workers have found it stimulating to work from our properties in their common areas. So our behavior is such as human beings that after a while, it's all pent up. We want to be out there and out and about, even though we may not be availing ourselves of the entire sort of services that are on offer at our properties. People do want to be in a different environment. And I think what we've done is created this sort of environment where you can really perform at an optimal level. Our villas and service apartments are particularly well suited for remote workers, as they allow guests to settle into a new place for an extended time. And that is, whether it be for a quick jaunt from Los Angeles to work by Rosewood Miramar's beach, a pool or a villa in Tuscany for a few weeks. Property teams, our property teams are really well equipped to meet the needs of those who can just work from anywhere.
One of the Rosewood Hotel's crown jewels is the Carlyle here in New York City. The 5-star luxury hotel, which opened back in 1930, has long been a bastion for the beautiful and glamorous, and really embodies a part of the city's cultural soul. The Rosewood Hotel Group purchased the Carlyle in 2011, and last year you unveiled the results of a 3-year transformation of that property. What are the plans for making this nearly 100-year-old historic icon relevant to a new generation of well-heeled individuals?
Yes, Carlyle for me is one of those really special properties. I remember walking into the Carlyle when actually first day on my job. It was to meet Sonia at the Carlyle back in 2011, and I walked into the Carlyle and I saw its idiosyncrasies. Those patinaed walls and the property itself at the public space levels, and how it's patinaed and worn, and I thought to myself, wow, this place needs some renovation. And I saw the sort of the charm of the elevator operators, and I saw, okay, well, this is really quite unique. And actually, I'd only been to the Bemelman's bar for a martini before, remembering how beautiful this hotel was. But it's not till I walked in and I realized, and I stayed there for a few days, and I went away and I came back again and truly understood the personality of this hotel, which is not easy to replicate. And so it is a unique property. It's one of those properties that gives you these goosebumps, and in the bowels of this property, it's steeped with so much history.
Yeah.
And so for us, it obviously, as you said, Carlyle brand is iconic, and while it is synonymous with New York, we're actually looking to introduce it to a global audience. But again, very measured. We believe in this brand, and as one that actually resonates, especially with the new generation of luxury travelers. In New York, we've seen this firsthand with a renewed interest in the Carlyle from a wider audience, many of whom be experiencing the magic of the property for the first time. And as I mentioned before, Bemelman is an excellent proof point. Hail is one of the hottest bars in New York City for the next gen crowd. And
yeah,
and I've been caught up through the hurricane, the storm that took place many years ago. I can't
Sandy?
remember. Yes, and I couldn't travel back to Los Angeles, and I was stuck at the Carlyle. And I
stuck at the Carlyle.
It was, and actually I was stuck there for a good 10, 12 days. And I really got to understand the spirit of Carlyle that much more, and the crowd that was hanging in Bemelman's, different generations, and
right.
and what a great property. And so what we want to do is, because it's so special, and of course, without, as I mentioned, carefully transport some of its spirit to a wider audience. And so what we did was in 2021, we Rosewood debuted Carlyle & Co. in Hong Kong.
Right.
What Carlyle & Co. is, it's a members club, and it's a new brand of landmark, private members clubs. Carlyle & Co. really actually just welcomes a carefully curated community of members drawn together by personalities and passions and interests and stories rather than status or profession. And it's just grounded in that timeless spirit of its namesake, the Carlyle in New York, and Carlyle & Co.'s diverse and dynamic, community is unlike any other, and it's also home to the first chapter outside of New York, of the legendary Cafe Carlyle, which has been, as you probably know, perfecting the quintessential supper club experience for the last 65 years.
The hotel industry is starting to take a creative approach to the nagging labor shortage in the face of pent-up demand and the possibility of a looming recession. How is Rosewood managing a changing work landscape and adapting to shifting needs amid a labor shortage? Because I know you're running that series of videos titled Discover Your Calling, and in it featured a Rosewood employee discussing why they love working at the brand at Rosewood. Is that part of Rosewood's recruitment strategy to address this labor shortage?
Yes. And so, we understand, we all know that talent shortage is certainly a challenge we're facing at but across the globe, not just at Rosewood. And because flexible working is a new norm, we can connect with talent and allow them to be based out of different locations, but can still be connected and part of our ecosystem, which is really important. So we've actually launched an app called the Insider, which allows our associates around the world to stay connected and receive internal news. And it's been working really well. And then, as you pointed out, with the Discovery Calling videos, we launched the Calling back in 2021 as our new talent and culture vision to support our core relationship hospitality vision that really connects us, not just to one another, but to our guests and community at large. So, and what we think that, discovering your calling, the essence of that was, if you want to be around people, and we've all realized that we do, especially if you get into our community, if you work in our industry, then what is it that makes you feel good about yourself and have that sort of fulfilling life? And so if you feel that your calling is to be around people and not just around people, but also be able to impart your personalities and to be able to get that acknowledgement from our guests, then you really should be part of us, part of this special community.
And last year, you launched a professional development program for associates called the Rosewood Academy. Can you talk a little bit about that initiative?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, the talent shortage is a challenge that everyone is facing. And being an attractive and performance-driven company for workers is really important to our brand. So in addition to providing technology to ease the work and creating an enriching culture, we recognize that it actually is it's also important that we provide a strong career path as well. And so we built Rosewood Academy, where we groom up top talents and provide courses and programs for them, and which we believe is critical at this moment.
So you have numerous projects under development across the world. Do you have any one in particular that you're really looking forward to see open?
You're right. We have so many properties coming up. I believe each one of them is special. I believe each one of them is a billboard property, if you will. I'm actually thrilled to have seen the Rosewood Vienna opening in August 1. I'm actually going to the official launch in the next couple of weeks. I'm super excited about that because, as I mentioned, Vienna is steeped with history, and there's so much in this beautiful city. It's a city of dreams and a city of music. And I think it's in Vienna. It's, as you know, it's probably the first luxury opening in 10 years, and this particular property, it's elegant, it's timeless, and it's been highly anticipated, in the city. So we're super excited about that. It's also, it's housed in a historic 19th century building, and probably one of the most famous squares in Vienna's old town, and really embodies that sense of place that we speak of. And it'll offer our guests that opportunity to immerse themselves in this really special city. So yeah, it's launching of that particular property I'm very excited about. And while there are several other properties, that are coming our way, including the Rosewood, the Chancery Rosewood on Grosvenor Square, and that's not for another couple of years or so. But I'm also excited about that because it really is, for me, is probably one of the best addresses on the planet. But meanwhile, we've also next year we've got Kona Village, as I mentioned earlier. I've lived in Hawaii. So for me, it's really special to be able to open a property there. I understand the spirit of the Hawaiian culture. It certainly changed my life. And of course, living in California, and as an Angelino, there are so many people that travel to Hawaii. Most of our business did come from Los Angeles and California, and now to be able to, I've built up such a strong relationship with the people here in Los Angeles, and those people that I would welcome back in Maui when I lived there 20 years ago. Now I can travel with them and take them to to a really authentic destination. And I think Kona Village is one such destination. It's located on the Kohala coast of the Big Island of Hawaii. It's an iconic retreat that will just, it'll just take the Rosewood flag to a whole new level, because when you talk about authentic destinations, this destination in particular is very earnest in what it delivers. And the experiences that our clients will get, those fulfilling and enriching experiences that they'll receive at Kona Village, will be a sort of yet another defining moment in Rosewood, in what it believes in offering these sense of place destinations.
So Radha, my final question is the luxury item question, which I ask all my guests. So if you were stranded on a deserted island and you can only have one luxury item with you, what would that one luxury item be? It can't be any form of air transportation to get you off that island, or water transportation to get you off that island, or anything that requires mobile service to call somebody to get you off that island. What would that one single luxury item that you would like to have with you on this deserted island?
Well, since I can't take a mobile device, and these days, as you know, we like to stream our music, what I would do is dig out my old iPod and take with me music that I love and enjoy, that transport me back to my life in the past. It's almost like creating your own chamber of dreams, and the book where you can kind of look back and search in your soul and all those special moments and of music of different eras that I've grown up through. I would do that. I would take my music with me, because the moment that I wake up every morning, I put my music on. Before I go to bed, I'm turning my music off, so it's on all day long. And so for me, music is really important. It makes me feel good. It lessens my stress. It lessens my pain. It lessens my struggles sometimes. And it's just a great distraction, and brings positivity and calmness to my daily life. And as I said, I create this chamber in my head, and I can get nostalgic with it and look back on the 70s, the 60s, and 70s and 80s, and then I'll go to the jazz part, and then I'll go to the classical music. So for me, music is everything, and I think if I have music, I can forget about everything else.
Radha Arora, president of Rosewood Hotels and Resorts, thank you so much for joining me on The Luxury Item.
Thank you, Scott.
That's it for this episode of the Luxury Item Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this useful and entertaining, I would be really grateful if you can share it with a friend or colleague. I would love it if you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other listeners find us. The Luxury Item Podcast is a production of Silvertone Consulting. I'm your host, Scott Kerr. Until next time.